It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports,
Sports don't stop, and neither do we. Welcome to 365 Sports, your home for real conversations, original shows, and coverage that lives where sports actually happen. Join David Smoke, Craig Smoke, and myself, Paul Catalina, for in-depth interviews and local stories to the moments national media misses. 365 Sports brings you the voices, debates, and perspectives fans care about every single day. Subscribe now on YouTube, search 365 Sports, and never miss a moment because sports aren't seasonal. They're 365.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
Just use AMP-Pace.
Pace.
With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US. Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at ulike.com, because at Ulike, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ULIKE.com. Ulike.
Hey, it's Matt Mosley of The Matt Mosley Show. We want you to watch our show every day, 1 to 3 on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. And you get to see big name guests like Gary Patterson, Art Briles, Scott Drew, Doug McNamee, major Cowboys insiders, ESPN legends like Sal Palantonio. When news breaks on Cowboys or Baylor or NFL, we want you to look here first. 1 to 3 weekdays, it's the Matt Mosley Show.
Hey, it is the Pete Sousa Show. What's happening? Monday morning, we are back. Cam Stewart in Boston, Chris Visser in Orlando, Pete Sousa here in the DFW. Cranking it up for a big week. We have a show that is jam-packed. We're talking NFL draft. We cannot wait to get into some of the details about the draft. We're talking to NBA playoffs. We have an esteemed guest from one of the biggest draft analysts or draft analysis companies all across the country, from Ourlads, who's going to break down this draft for us and talk to us about how the Cowboys did. And also, we want to talk a little bit about the NFC East, about the Philadelphia Eagles, and also some other big draft moves. I mentioned we'll talk about the Lakers. I have some serious insight on LeBron and why I think actually the Lakers will be better served to lose one more game. Maybe, I guess it would have to be Wednesday night. They're playing at home. And I'll tell you exactly why. And Cam's going to talk to us a little bit about the Red Sox and the disarray there, because we have got some serious trouble on the home front in Boston. It's like every time you turn around, there's just more drama, whether it's Trevor Story telling a story or Cam Stewart telling a story. We're presented by Slovakics. Thank you so much to Ray and the good folks out there in West at Slovakics. Thank you so much to Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers. They will always get you out of a jam, especially if an insurance company is trying to meddle and screw around with you. Crawford Austin Properties, one of the best commercial real estate properties in all of Central Texas. Bumblebee Blinds, of course, Kalshi, Lake Waco Golf Club, and the Argyle Open, just to name a few at the gate. We'll be talking about our great sponsors over the course of the show. Let's start, though, close to home. We're going to start with the Cowboys, and we're going to start with Baylor, and we're going to start with a huge question that I guess we got an answer to over the course of the weekend in the NFL draft, which was, where would Michael Trigg go in the NFL draft? One of the most prolific tight ends on the field in all of college football. Continued to turn heads throughout the season. Unfortunately, some of the heads were turned because of character issues and rumors. And the reason I bring that up is the further we got down the line, talking about Michael Trigg and his production last season, then you started to look under the hood a little bit about who this guy really is, right? And by all accounts, I'm not here to take anybody's inventory. I've never met Michael Trigg. I've called a handful of his games. One of his best games, I called the Baylor-Kansas State game this year. And he's a kid, but some of the behavior and character stuff was too much for teams to ignore. And a theory I have, which is fun, and I told Cam this before the show, and it's really Baylor-centric, but it's like, hey, don't mess with Mack Rhodes. Like, if you remember, when Mack Rhodes, Baylor's athletic director, was dismissed, it all stemmed from an issue involving Michael Trigg on a Saturday night football game against Arizona State. The story goes that Trigg, and look, let's get to the story first, and then I'll give you some context. Trigg is wearing, this is the night of the game, a pair of sleeves because he had an arm injury. And he said the sleeves were to protect his arm injury, but they were not part of Baylor's uniform, sanctioned uniforms that players could wear. And they really weren't that much off color. But the off color thing was Mack Rhodes' behavior. Before the game, Rhodes was down on the sidelines, like in the fray before the offense were to take the field. And he grabbed Michael Trigg. This is almost not alleged now. There's so many eyewitnesses that were there. And he said, "What the F are you wearing?" And he kind of got in Michael Trigg's face. Like, no reason an athletic director should be like at ground zero like that before the start of a game. Mack certainly had some freedom down on the sidelines for sure. And that whole dust up led to an investigation into Mack Rhodes, which ultimately led to his resignation. And there was a lot of back and forth after that situation took place, right? Like Michael Trigg's family was in the media talking to folks from Outkick, and that's how that story got reported. And if you really were to read that story the day it came out, when folks were getting into the breakdown of what happened on the Baylor sideline before the Arizona State game, you made Michael Trigg look like a choir boy, and Mack Rhodes looked like the villain, right? He was the heel in the story. And it was a bad moment for Mack Rhodes, but I don't think it was indicative of who he is as a man. I think Mack would probably tell you he was going through a pretty tough time during this whole period, and that was certainly not the best reflection of who he was. But I also think it was a miscalculation of who Michael Trigg was. And I was wondering throughout the draft at times, and this is a stretch, guys, but it crossed my mind. Like, Mack Rhodes has been a high-powered athletic director and college administrator dating back like 30 years, right? Was in the SEC at Missouri, was at Houston, okay? Was at Baylor, obviously, for many years. You have relationships with GMs, scouts. You talk to a lot of people, and I'm just saying, okay, that's sort of an interesting thread there to all this. Now, to kind of add fuel to that fire, I was messaging with McShay this morning, and I said, "Hey, what happened with Michael Trigg? Like, because I know Todd liked him. I liked him a ton as a player, and said made character issues." And he directed me towards a couple quotes from scouts, and scouts were really concerned about the off the field stuff. You factor in that he doesn't block anybody, okay, and that he is notorious for drops. And then you also bring in the character stuff, which is, look, a big black mark for him was that he was at USC, cup of coffee, bounced. Ole Miss really like asked him to leave, which never happens. Like, I think that's important to remember. Like that doesn't happen. So he goes to Baylor, and I kind of give credit to the Baylor coaching staff, because it's a situation where we always saw person over player for so long. But it's like, look, you got a monster. Let's find a way to get him on the field. And also, too, and I always would fall for this, hook, line, and sinker, when Jerry Tarkanian would tell you why, he's just kind of like got a prison ward going, because, hey, man, I can help these kids. Even like John Lucas, like somebody who got sober and was, hey, I'm going to help these guys, like a Lloyd Daniels or a Charles Shackelford, or somebody who's got a jaded history that involves like substance. I'm going to help them get back on their feet. You certainly can if you're Dave Aranda and Jake Spavital and people at Baylor being like, we're going to help this guy. We're going to help him with direction, and we're going to help him get to the NFL. And so I understand that mission. I really do. And I like that. I like that. But it was quite the mission, and it's precedent setting for Baylor to be like, okay, we will find a way to get these 4-star guys on the field, regardless of their character issues, or not regardless, but working through some character issues. And I like that for Baylor, right? Like, I like the dog in that sort of for an athletic department, but I think you cannot overlook some of these serious issues, and NFL teams couldn't overlook it. So now here's the Michael Trigg ends up in Dallas, and there's a comment this morning: if Trigg can make a roster as an unrestricted free agent, he will impress them with the talent, but he needs to be better off the field. He sure does. And one last aside, and this is stuff that you could see when you were at Baylor games, and I was only at one home game, I think. Yeah. And you could see, somebody brought it to my attention. I'm not sure if it was our sideline reporter or who, but during timeouts, Michael Trigg wouldn't necessarily, or when the offense was off the field, he would kind of go to the stands to like chat with his dad, and wouldn't necessarily join the offensive unit, not consistently at least. And there's all this stuff. So now he falls to the Cowboys. Okay, so now all this, the nightmare that was draft day and all this stuff is over for Michael Trigg. This is the beauty of being a drafted free agent, that now he finds himself in a position where the Cowboys really need a second tight end to step up behind Jake Ferguson. And they need someone who can press the seams, get down the field, and catch passes. And Michael Trigg fits that description. There is a spot for Michael Trigg on the Cowboys depth chart at number 2 tight end, right? That's why Michael Trigg basically had the pick of the litter as an unrestricted free agent after the draft. I mean, it really is, as much from a prestige standpoint as you'd like to get picked in the 7th round of the draft. This is better for Michael Trigg. I mean, I'm not breaking any news here for people, but that's how this works. Same thing for Sawyer Robertson. I was talking yesterday. If you look at the Raiders depth chart right now, you've got Fernando Mendoza and Kirk Cousins. They're going to duke it out and figure out who will be the starter. Obviously, the future is Mendoza. After that, you have Aiden O'Connell. That's your 3rd quarterback. And throughout the draft and prior to the draft, there were a lot of reports that Aiden O'Connell was being shopped by the Raiders, right? So clearly they're not in love with him. And now they've got Sawyer Robertson, who can really compete and earn that number 3 spot. Now, conversely, we have Michael Trigg, who's this character question mark. Well, we have Sawyer Robertson, who, if there's one thing that he will do, it is take the bottom of that Raider roster and make it better, right? Make it better with the vibes, the leadership. And that's a hell of a quarterback room. Gosh, that's like the nicest quarterback room in the world, right? Fernando Mendoza, Kirk Cousins, and Sawyer Robertson. Like, you got 3 choir boys in there. So I love the old school Raiders and like John Matuzak, and they were led by Jim Plunkett or Kenny Stabler. But hey, now we're talking about we got a bunch of good dudes and definite person over player there, although Mendoza was the number 1 pick in the draft. But a question around the draft too, how did the Cowboys do? And I think you look all over what a lot of analysts are saying this morning, that the Cowboys had a hell of a draft. They truly did. I mean, there's not much that first pick, Caleb Downs, across the board, everyone loved it. Everyone loved it. If there's one reason why Caleb Downs fell to the Cowboys with that 12th pick, it was because, or was it the 11th pick? The Cowboys moved up. So they moved up 1 to the
11th. Yep.
Yeah. Thanks, Cam. So, it was because he was a safety, right? And that's not such a sought after or celebrated position at the top of the draft. But he's an impact player. And we had Sean Salisbury on here, and Cam did a great job putting the short up, which a lot of people were excited about that. And Sean Salisbury just talked how much he loved Caleb Downs. We talked to Bobby Carpenter last week, loves Caleb Downs. Rich Gannon loves him. A lot of the people we talked to, and McShay had Downs like, at the top of his big board. You can't deny the Cowboys doing a great job there, at least setting the table for what could be an improvement to the defense. And this is from our buddy Todd Archer, who was on the show last Wednesday. Let's just read his synopsis here, okay? And this was, did the Cowboys do enough at linebacker? Because that is the spot where they needed a ton of improvement. Well, here's what Todd Archer reported. The Cowboys gave a 5th-round pick to San Francisco for D. Winters. This is a linebacker. Winters has started his last 27 games and had 101 tackles last season. You can plug him in right away, okay? Right away. 3rd-round pick, Jayshawn Barham, will begin his career at inside linebackers. And look, here is the missing link for the Cowboys. This could take their defense to a whole nother level. 2 words, DeMarvion Overshown, excuse me. The guy, remember Texas kid, has been hit with a bunch of injuries. When he's been on the field, he's been outstanding. He is still on the roster and is a great off-ball linebacker. And that's a guy that the Cowboys could really see emerge this year. Also, when you talk about Winters, he's a guy that can come in and start on your first day. And Stephen Jones said the Cowboys are going to continue to look around and see what they can find as far as linebacker is concerned. So there is still a lot of questions on the defensive side of the ball that the Cowboys have to answer. And the reason I say a lot is because they were historically bad last year. But they got a lot better over the weekend, a lot better. And they infused not only talent, but I think they infused some goodwill among their fan base and people that can sort of be negative. And the Cowboys passed up the Maserati and they went to the pickup truck. That is what this team needed to do. And as a guy who just got a pickup truck a couple weeks ago, I'm happy about that. So we got a little bit of time here before our guest is going to join us, which I am really excited about. Okay. And I'm looking here. This is very interesting as far as what we've got with the Cowboys, their selections, right? It's going to be a lot of fun here when we're talking about the draft and recapping it. I want to move on and get to the Lakers real quick before we take a break. Over the weekend, the Lakers, and I'm in the DFW. I'm in Flower Mound, so right up the street is Marcus High School, where the great Marcus Smart attended. By the way, this microphone stand presented by System One. That's Mike Sousa's company, or it could just be a beautiful mug, right? Either way, System One is in the mix, elevating the microphone. We have a beautiful microphone. There's no reason it shouldn't be in my mouth. I don't sound like a pipsqueak from miles away. So the Lakers are now up 3-1 after finally losing last night. LeBron played 45 minutes on Friday night in a furious comeback effort, which was assisted by, as I was saying, I'm right down the street from Marcus High School. That is where Marcus Smart went to high school. Amazing, right? Pretty cool. That's where Christy went, my fiance. It's where her kids go, or one went and one still goes. But dude, Marcus and LeBron were a wrecking crew on Friday night. And the way they scrambled to get back in that game, now the Lakers are still, they've got one more game to go to actually win the series. And when you look at the production from LeBron James over the course of those first 3 games, it's been tremendous. And his ability to sustain the production through game 3, and you saw the bottom getting ready to fall out, right? Again, 45 minutes on Friday night, leading his comeback effort. He'd been fantastic. Last night, not so much. 10 points. I think he had 8 turnovers. Just not the Lakers' night. So now they have an opportunity to go back to Los Angeles and seal the deal on Wednesday. Here's one thing I'll say, not to be too first takey or shock jockey here, but like losing this game at home on Wednesday wouldn't necessarily kill the Lakers. And I know you're rolling the dice a little bit because now you're down to 2 games and you got to win one of them if you were to lose on Wednesday. And the first one of those 2 games will be on the road. But Luka Doncic's timetable has been improved or reassessed to around, he could be back in 10 days. Now, if he's back in 10 days, you're now talking about if you lose one more game, he's back to the start of an Oklahoma State series. And then everything would change. And for me, the excitement is around, okay, now the Lakers are closer to full strength. Wait, I don't know if I'm not going like full throttle Ewing theory here, but I would say there's a potential for the Lakers to maybe be a little better with LeBron just playing like totally loose and living life like it's a loose shirt, or wearing life like a loose shirt out there, like we saw him do the first 3 games. But let's face it, getting Luka Doncic back really helps your effort, especially against the best team in the NBA, which would be the Oklahoma City Thunder. So keeping an eye on that series. Cam's Celtics go up 3-1. I saw that coming. Cam, what did you think about? All right, take it easy. I mean, that should be that's a compliment, calling you guys the Lakers by accident. What did you think about the series this weekend? I mean, I knew, by the way, I knew, I told you that was fool's gold for the Sixers, and they actually almost won on Friday.
Well, I was worried on Friday. Friday night, I sent out some texts that the Celtics would not make the Eastern Conference Finals. And I still have some concern, actually, even though they won by like 1 billion points yesterday. I still have some like 1 or 2 concerns about the Celtics team. But yeah, it was an absolute kind of a rock fight on Friday night, man. But yeah. Tatum comes through in the clutch. Tatum, big second half again in this game yesterday. I think he deserves some co-ownership of the Philadelphia 76ers. Just every time he goes out. And honestly, I loved seeing the news that Embiid was back.
I know. It's unfortunate. You know, we talked about that ad nauseum here, and me being a Philly guy, it's frustrating. Joel, amazing dude. Obviously unique talent.
Fighting to come back, right? Like he came back quicker than most NBA players do after an appendectomy. But you just like, what was he going to give you, really? Like you got kind of the best out of him, right? He still is not a terrific rebounder, especially in the playoffs, but you got like the first 8 points out of him. He played over 30 minutes. I was a little surprised to see that. Yeah. I don't know what more you could really ask for. Like genuinely, I don't really know what more you could ask for Embiid in this game. But yeah, Maxey and Edgecombe took like a combined 8 shots in the first half or something like that. It was, if you're going to do that, then the Celtics, they're going to win every time.
And that's the Embiid, right? Coming back and kind of throwing the rhythm off. And
yeah, do we need to feed him? Like, do we need to play through Embiid? Because Embiid's on the floor. He won the MVP a couple years ago.
Yeah, and it's just like, how do you get him going? Do you know what I mean? Like early on, if he gets 6 quick points and his confidence is in it and he's running the floor harder, all that stuff comes into play. And Nick Nurse had a tough job and he couldn't execute. All right, let's take a break. We got David Syvertsen with Ourlads coming back. We're breaking down the NFL draft. We've got some questions. Yeah, go ahead, Cam.
You're just going to take a 1-minute break, 2 spots, okay?
Let's do a little longer, okay?
Okay, I could do that, Pete. You're the man.
I might have to use a little voice room. All right, thank you, Cam. The Pete Sousa Show, presented by Syvertsen. Back after this.
Bumblebee Blinds of Waco and Temple is your one-stop shop for custom window treatment, transforming your vision into reality. Choose from a selection of shades, blinds, shutters, and curtains. Bumblebee Blinds stands behind our service and products, ensuring peace of mind with our trusted warranty. Call Bumblebee Blinds today to schedule your design consultation. Bumblebee Blinds, simplifying window treatments one covering at a time. BumblebeeBlinds.com.
Looking for football talk without the fluff? It's Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell, a former NFL quarterback breaking down the game from the inside, plus real conversations about sports, leadership, life, and everything in between. No hot takes for clicks, just honest analysis, strong opinions, and stories you won't hear anywhere else. Football talk and more, the way it's supposed to be. Subscribe now to Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell on YouTube.
It doesn't matter if your investment budget is small or big. All you need is Benzinga Pro and its powerful news alerts, price tracking, and portfolio monitoring. Subscribe now, and we'll skyrocket your portfolio today.
Experience with the Bosley MD hair regrowth kit was amazing. It was easy to use. It let me take off my hat. I could go in public and have my picture taken and feel normal again.
BosleyMD.com.
Join us at golfpartnerusa.com and discover why we're the trusted choice for golf lovers worldwide. That's GOLFPARTNERUSA.com. Golf Partner. Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internix. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. That's INTERNXT.com today.
Apollo Neuro is a new kind of wearable that helps your body recover from stress, that helps you calm down and feel better. You sleep better, and you can get back to being yourself. Learn more at apolloneuro.com.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. NordVPN.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
Our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Dive into adventure with Scuba.com, your ultimate destination for top-tier scuba and snorkeling gear. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, trust Scuba.com for the best in diving equipment and expert guidance. Explore now at Scuba.com. That's SCUBA.com. Scuba.com. At Fullwell, we bring together the expertise of registered dietitians, MDs, and OBGYNs to give you the best fertility support. Fullwell, your trusted partner on your fertility journey. Visit us at FullwellFertility.com. Experience the perfect blend of exquisite craftsmanship and life-changing technology with Gevi. Every product is built with precision, featuring specialized parts that ensure durability, efficiency, and safety. Upgrade your everyday with Gevi. Visit us at GEVI.com to discover more.
It's the Pete Sousa Show.
With San, owning iconic furniture no longer requires paying a premium. With over 15,000 satisfied customers worldwide, we've proven that high-quality furniture doesn't have to come with a high price tag. Explore our collection today at san.com.
At Covers & All, we've revolutionized protective solutions with cutting-edge, customizable covers, tarps, and curtains. We deliver premier protection at affordable prices and express shipping. Visit coversandall.com today for the perfect fit, guaranteed to last.
Hi, my name is Mike Lacey. I'm with Beyond the Game, a new podcast to the Rogue Media Network. Just when you thought you'd had a little bit too much about BYU, here we are to provide you even a little bit more. I, as part of the BYU group, am grateful that we're part of the Big 12 and really grateful that we're part of the Rogue Media Network. Thank you.
Senior draft analyst, NFL draft from Ourlads, David Syvertsen. David, what's happening, man?
How's it going, buddy? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, man, thanks for joining us this morning. Ourlads has been in my life for a very long time.
Okay.
For the draft work and the best depth charts you will find out there outside of team facilities. There's no question about that.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's the best. And, your work and oversight going into the NFL draft gets us ready. And now we've got a chance to look back at it and see where we are today. For you, on this Monday following the draft, what was the biggest storyline coming out of the draft? And now here we sit today as the dust settles. What's at the top of your list of things you're interested in?
It was the wild, wild west, the entire NFL draft. And part of it, we knew going into the draft class that positional value, whether you believe in it or not, or you're all in on that concept or not, it just was not going to be a factor in this draft class. We knew that back in September and October. There weren't the list of quarterbacks, the left tackles, the abundance of corners, but you saw a lot of talent at running back, at tight end, at guard. And you saw that those are positions that normally are not drafted high. But because there's just a lack of supply at the premium positions, it was just a really hard draft to kind of project what was going to happen. And then you throw NIL into the deal. You have a lot of these third, fourth, fifth round caliber guys that normally come out of college to get a paycheck. They're staying in college now to collect a paycheck. And because of that, rounds 3, 4, 5, you saw guys just getting drafted all over the place in terms of we had guys graded in 6th, 7th round area getting drafted in the 3rd round and vice versa, much more than normal. So it was a really hard draft to predict and project, but that's part of what made it a fun class.
Were teams able, to your point positionally, I guess, how were teams able to stay disciplined and not go for the quarterback position, right? Because we saw that. We saw a lot of teams just sort of staying off that urge to grab a quarterback or that sexy position and kind of go after exactly what they needed per se, right? Like a meat and potatoes type thing.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the evaluation process from the media side is different than the team side. The team sides, they don't necessarily pursue need, but they are always kind of going after value at positions of need. So it is a part of the algorithm, whatever grade you put on a board next to a guy. And that's why it's so different team to team, city to city, that from the media side, it doesn't really matter where we have them ranked because we're not picking for our team and our scheme. But when it comes to the discipline, that's where it just comes into the best leadership in the NFL. You can see these teams that draft well year after year. And you have teams that have a lot of turnover every 3 to 5 years in the front office, because I think it gets a little muddy this time of year where you don't really have a process or a system that you're truly pursuing, where these teams, Pittsburgh, for example, we know they've had struggles in the playoffs, but you know what? They're always in it every year. And it's not just Mike Tomlin. It's they draft well every single year. And it's not just need, it's identity that they lean into.
All right. How about the Cowboys? Now that is they can always throw some wild cards your way, especially when it comes to the draft or the offseason. But a lot of the grading, as we've seen from folks like yourself, see the Cowboys as having a really good draft. Where do you come down on that?
Yeah, I mean, I remember, you rewind to week 18, walking out of MetLife Stadium after allowing 34 points to the Giants, second most points they scored all year. And you're looking at this defense who had just allowed more points than all teams in the NFL. And you say, we need an identity on this side of the ball. And they did. They did a lot in free agency, a couple starters, a couple kind of rotational guys and backups that have veteran pedigree. But what they did in this draft class in particular that leaned into that, this new Christian Parker defensive scheme, is I have the word relentless written on all 3 of their draft picks, individually separate of each other, independent of each other in my game notes, which I keep track of all year. I start in August and I go through every single game. Relentless is found under Caleb Downs, Malachi Lawrence, and Jayshawn Barham. And I think they not only wanted a positionless defense, guys that can play multiple positions and have true versatility, but they wanted a personality on that defense. They want guys that play hard, they breathe, eat, sleep, breathe football, they play violent. And that's the number one takeaway I have from those initial picks in the Cowboys draft.
Can you take me into, because at this point, even I can give a good analysis on Downs, right? But take me into a little bit about Barham and about Lawrence. I called one of Lawrence's games, but it was very early in the season, and it was against a subpar opponent. You've seen all the tape. What about Barham and Lawrence make them special and could make them impact players for this Cowboy defense?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start off with Lawrence, and he arrived to Central Florida as this word that you hear in projection evaluation all the time. He was raw. He was a really good athlete, won a shot put title of all things in high school. And he was explosive. He was fast. He had the body, but he didn't really know what he was doing. And we saw that early in his career. But in 2026, we just saw a different version of him on tape. And it comes down to the skill set. It's one thing to have tools, but when you blend a skill set with those tools, that's when you start to see what we saw on tape in 2025, counter moves, a plan B at the top of the pass rush. If he gets stalled out initially, what does he do in reaction to that? Even just the hand maneuvers as he pursues the football, he doubled his forced fumble rate in 2025 as opposed to the rest of his career. And those are the kind of things that, all right, it's starting to click for him. And then he blows up the Shrine Bowl. He blows up the combine. That's a guy that you just know he's blossoming at the right time. And you don't want to put so much weight into what they did early in their career. You want to see a progression curve that is consistent and constant at the college level. And that's what he did. Barham, a 22-year-old, 2 years at Maryland, played inside linebacker there, yet led the Big Ten in tackles among freshmen in 2022. He transfers to Michigan in 2024 as an inside linebacker. But situationally, the players around him, the lack of options they had up front, they move him to the edge. And I'll tell you what, I watched over 500 guys in this pre-draft process exclusively and in depth. He was the most, pound for pound, the most violent player in this draft class. If you had asked me 2 weeks ago, tell me about this guy, or who's the most violent player in this draft class, I would have not you wouldn't finish the question. This is the name that would have popped out of my mouth. And that's what you're getting in him. And you talked about, we heard a lot about Arvell Reese in the pre-draft process. Is he a linebacker? Is he an edge defender? Is he Micah Parsons part 2? That's what Barham is as well. And what I like about this new defensive scheme and fit with him is that he is a positionless player. And that's what I think you're going to see a lot of in Dallas. You're going to see him off the ball. You're going to see him on the line. He's a big, broad-shouldered guy, fun player to watch.
How do that's an amazing synopsis, and that word relentless. How does that? What kind of marriage does that look like with that Christian Parker defense now? Like being relentless, and now you have a new leadership and a new approach to how you're attacking things defensively.
Yeah, when I started off at Ourlads, one of the best lessons I ever learned about defensive scouting is it's over 50% desire and want to and ambition. And when you have guys that are feeding off each other, and we didn't see that a lot in Dallas last year. We saw a lack of communication and we saw a lack of just physicality, and they want to be the bully in the room. When you have 11 guys feeding off each other, it raises the entire boat to a whole different level. And that's what I think Dallas really pursued. A, in Christian Parker, B, in having a positionless defense, but C, some of the personnel, free agency as well. D. Winters, the trade, by the way, from San Francisco.
Yeah.
That was on his report out of TCU a few years ago. The guy, he plays bigger than he is. He's the most violent player in the field. And when you start to set that culture in that room right away with a new defensive coach, look, Dallas, all that defense needs to be is average. If they're average, they're a legit, credible Super Bowl contender next year. And it starts with personality, in my opinion, more than just a scheme.
When you get later in the draft, you get guys like, around here, we do a lot of Big 12 stuff. And Michael Trigg at Baylor is a guy who I got to see a bunch of times and was super excited by, but you heard the character stuff too. Why did he fall off draft boards and end up as an unrestricted free agent? And then 2-part question, what are his odds in Dallas to be successful? I know that's going kind of deep for you, but
yeah,
I know you got I know you got it all on him anyways, brother. Yeah.
No such thing as too deep at Ourlads. I mean, we go as deep as we're allowed to here. But, with Michael Trigg, I mean, I think one thing that hurt him in this process is this was an incredibly deep draft at tight end. I've never had this many draftable grades at the position ever. And you see, what I did think was going to help him was that the amount of teams that are now leaning into 13 personnel, 3 tight ends on the field. A, because it's a copycat league. The Rams had success with it. Hey, let's try it too, guys. But I thought that was going to help him. But one thing he doesn't do, and he didn't do a lot in Baylor or any program he's been a part of, was line up with his hand in the dirt across the defensive end. And that's the profile. A lot of those guys got drafted this year. Even 5 years ago, you were saying, these tight ends that are Jimmy Graham types that can line up in the slot and win the jump ball, those are the guys that everyone in the NFL wants. But this year, it was more about the guys that can line up with their hand in there and block. And really, the run game's starting to come back a little bit in the NFL, partially for that reason. That's not his skill set. He is an aggressive player. I remember week 1 against Auburn, one of my notes on him was that this guy's physical. Like, he wants to run guys over. But I think what hurt him really was just a lack of attention to detail on the field. Just route runner, rounding his routes, not really coming back to the football. I mean, his wingspan, his reach, his ability to go up and get the ball, we saw it all year. I mean, it's special what he can do. But in the NFL, you need more than talent. There needs to be that desire to be great and that desire to really pursue the skill sets, to fine tune the skill set part of the game. Where there's some issues off the field and work ethic, is he lazy? I think really what hurt him was that pro day workout. I think it was a 27-inch vertical. You're never going to not draft a guy because of that. But analytics has taken over a lot of the evaluation process. And that's a number that's just off the chart for NFL, projecting NFL success. Like, there are not NFL tight ends that have had success with that kind of vertical. He blames his hamstring. Maybe there's some stuff off the record that he didn't really rehab it or work that hard. He didn't run a 40. So you're kind of getting, but I think the odds of him in Dallas, you're getting a guy that has a very unique skill set that this team is going to want. He is an excellent pass catcher. He can get above the rim and stay above the rim, pluck the ball out of the air at the apex of his leap. There's a lot of natural talent and natural ability there. He'll probably start off on the practice squad, but I'd be surprised if you don't see him on the active 53 at some point.
Dave, this is great stuff. I want to stay in the NFC East. The Philadelphia Eagles, they have to be one of those organizations you referenced earlier where they've got a process and you see how they executed on draft day now. If you could grade the Eagles draft, what would you give it?
I would give it, I'm an A- on that.
Okay.
I think there was a couple of spots where I was like a little confused about the fact that there's a player drafted from Nigeria over Florida State. But look, the seventh round, you go after traits at the end of the draft. But I think it started off on fire for them because we all know they're about to live life without A.J. Brown. And we knew Pittsburgh was going to go after Malachi Lemon. And Howie Roseman, he's a wizard. And I'll tell you what, if there's one guy that I said was the best value of round one in the NFL draft, it's Malachi Lemon going to the Philadelphia Eagles. They're going to change up how they pass the football. It's going to be a different passing game. What they don't currently have, because A.J. Brown's going to be out, they don't have that yard after catch guy. They don't have the guy that can immediately separate at all three levels, a contested catch guy. You don't think about a slot receiver as a contested catch guy. Go watch his tape. There might not be a more competitive. If you remember Steve Smith back for the days with the Ravens, Carolina Panthers, that's the name that jumps off the screen when I watch his tape. And did he have a little bit of an odd pre-draft process? Sure. Maybe he needs a little bit of PR help. Maybe he can hire you to help him learn how to interview well. But at the end of the day, the guy is a baller. And he just, again, this kind of fits into what a lot of teams are pursuing now is they want that mantra. They want that mentality. And Eli Stowers in the second round, you're getting another target. You're getting, and my favorite player in this draft class in terms of intrigue is Cole Payton. And it's not just because of what he did as a quarterback. He was a one-year starter at an FCS program. That almost never happens in the NFL draft. But he is Tim Tebow light. The guy rushed for, I think, 1,900 yards, had a ton of touchdowns. He was a short yardage back. But his passing metrics, downfield passing, across the board, nobody in this class was close to him in 2025. Lower level, I know. But the guy can throw. He can launch it. So there's a lot of intrigue there. And even if he does not work out at quarterback, he's going to offer them something as a short yardage back.
David, you mentioned the Eagles passing attack. How will it change this year? What will look different about it?
I think they're going to see a little bit less downfield passing. And because A.J. Brown, he's not a sudden mover. He's not you want to throw him the ball downfield. It's not because he's got a lot of vertical separation anymore, but he's stronger, bigger than everyone. But Jalen Hurts, that's not his specialty. He looks a lot better when he can do some play fakes, use the RPO, give these guys a little bit of breathing room underneath and get the ball out fast. And it kind of just opens up the door to yard after catch. And that's where a lot of the NFL has had success in the passing game in recent years. It's less about the explosive and it's more about the death by 1,000 paper cuts. But you need guys that can make things happen after the catch. Devontae Smith is not that guy. Dontavian Wicks is. Now you have Eli Stowers can be. Malachi Lemon absolutely is. So I think that's what you're going to see. A little bit less downfield passing, get the ball out in a hurry, stop letting Jalen Hurts hold on to the ball more than everyone in the NFL, and get the ball out and let these guys do their work after the catch.
All right, a couple more for you. This is great stuff. When you looked at your board and you saw a guy get selected that you were like, man, I cannot wait to see how this guy does because he got me fired up watching his tape. Who is that player?
Ruben Bain, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man. This guy, he is, and I love the fact that he had historically short arms. I love the fact that he also went to Tampa Bay, who drafted the other guy with historically short arms, the two shortest armed pass rushers ever drafted in the first round, Reuben Bain, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Kalijah Cansey, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Put those guys on the same line and watch them wreak havoc. I mean, I even liked how he took the hat off. He didn't even pose for the picture on TV. He ripped the thing off. He's pissed that he went 15th overall. He plays like he's pissed. And those guys that do have a physical shortcoming, like Mekhi Lemon, they play with an edge. They have to play with an edge. It's almost like they're looking for things to make them angry. And that's the best version of Reuben Bain you're ever going to find. That's a guy that in a Todd Bowles defense, they're going to know how to use them. They're going to move him around. I can't wait to see what he does in Tampa Bay.
Who was a guy that surprisingly fell pretty far, that when he got taken, you thought, oh, wow, he's going to have a real impact there?
Oh, man. I would say that I don't know if he's going to have an immediate impact because of who's QB1 in Kansas City, but I love Garrett Nussmeier going that late to Kansas City. I did have a high outlook on him at this point last year. And again, 2025, dumpster fire at LSU. He was also hurt, but I did eventually project him to be the guy that's like, hey, Matt Schaub type. He's going to enter the NFL. He's going to be a really solid backup 2, 3, 4 years down the road. Someone's going to want that kid as a starting quarterback. And at the very least, maybe he runs into a Chase Daniel, highest paid backup quarterback in the NFL. That's the kind of guy every head coach, every GM wants in that back pocket to like, hey, that's the guy that we want in case our guy goes down, because it ruins seasons every year because you don't have a capable backup quarterback. That dude can play.
Dave, how excited about that am I if I am his agent or his dad or somebody that's like, man, he gets to go play for the Chiefs in a world where, you know, if he had a sensational season last year in 2025, maybe he's thrust into an unhealthy environment, right, where he's got to produce right away. How can this help his development and growth?
I put a tweet out during the draft weekend. There's not a better place for him. Draft weekend, the guy was very upset. He fell that far into the draft. Nobody saw that coming, by the way. There was a medical issue that I think did contribute to that a little bit. But I'm a very strong believer that a lot of the quarterback success in the NFL, especially in these rookie contracts, has as much to do with what situation they get drafted into than just the talent itself. And that's why you see a random Brock Purdy or a Tom Brady or a Dak Prescott day 3 picks that have a lot of success. They got drafted into the right situation. Are we confident that Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson would have succeeded with the New York Jets if they drafted him? And again, you're kind of getting into this fantasy. We're never really going to get that answer. But to answer your question, if it's my son, right, I would want him to be drafted into the right situation, even if it means he's going to make a little less money and have a little less star power over the first few years, and let these kids develop the right way.
All right, one more for you. How come Sawyer Robertson didn't get drafted? How did he get, like, that was a guy who I figured he would be, 6th, 7th rounder. Now, again, sometimes you win as an unrestricted free agent because there is certainly a chance for him to make that team in Las Vegas. But what kept teams away?
I think it was just too many turnovers. He had a lot of big plays down the field, but there was a lot of turnover-worthy plays. They didn't always turn into interceptions, but when you really watch the tape, there were a lot of throws that should have been picked off. And I think that turnover rate does scare a lot of teams off. He's an older prospect. He did play in an offense that is you see a lot of this in college, a little simple, one read, get the ball out in a hurry. You don't have to read a lot of defense. And then when you get put into an NFL environment, whether it's a pro day workout where some of these teams get to run some things or at an all-star game, if you can't process information really quickly while also diagnosing coverages and calling the guys out and controlling the pass protection, those are the things you don't necessarily see it from a broadcast angle and watching as a fan. But if you don't pass those tests at a high level, the NFL is just like, hey, we have other guys that are a little further along mentally, and we think there's more upside. Sawyer Robertson, I don't know if the upside is there.
All right, Dave, where can people find all this great stuff of yours? And how can they get it? I mean, you guys got some good stuff going on over there.
Thank you, bud. Appreciate that. Ourlads.com. I mean, the depth chart's free to use, by the way. That's where you have to use them. College and
Dude,
NFL.
If people don't know, let me jump in. They are the best depth charts. You can go there right now and get a vibe as to what's going to what mini camp will look like. It is really awesome, dude. You guys do a tremendous job.
It's immediate too. I mean, we were putting draft picks in as they were coming through, and it's color coded. It's easy to use. It's simple, right? If we have a newsletter that goes out every week on the website, you can subscribe to that. It's free. We have an NFL draft focus and an NFL focus on both. Personally, I'm on X at Ourlads_Cy. very active there, put out a lot of draft analysis there. We have a draft review guide, and we put a lot of time into it, and we wait until after rookie and mini camps to publish it. So we don't get into the immediate draft grades. We want to see how these guys are being used, what's being said about them. You can order that at ourlads.com. That'll be on your doorstep in June.
That's awesome, Dave. Yeah, I mean, a guy like is like, it's so hard to grade the draft. It's a sexy question, but it's like, talk to me in 5 years, then I'll grade the draft.
Yeah.
That's
Look,
kind of how it goes.
The 2023 draft is what we want to grade right now. That's what I'm personally doing right now. I'll put an article out on ourlads.com. Grade the 23. It's not as sexy, but that's where you get those answers about 3 years in.
Yeah. All right, Dave Syvertsen. Thanks, man. Take care, brother. We'll talk soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
See you, man. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. That was beyond what I thought we would get there. Amazing job by Dave. Hey, bud, why don't you jump in here?
You referring to me as Bud? Am I Bud?
Yeah. What's happening? Yeah, you're Bud, dude.
Oh,
what's going on?
Gotcha. I thought that was good. It was great stuff. You even threw in some Eagles there. I like that.
He's
By the way,
really
our
good.
lads also for college football.
Yes.
Great, man. For depth charts and everything.
Yeah.
Like phenomenal.
Well, it's because a lot of times too, some of those college teams are playing possum with you. So you don't get the depth charts, or you get a bunch of oars on the depth charts. And Ourlads does a wonderful job of diagnosing all that stuff and furthering some of the cloudy details that are provided by schools. They do a great job.
They're great at it.
All right, I want to ask you about the Red Sox. What the hell's going on? Seriously, like let's just switch real quick. By the way, Kevin Fisher sent me a note personally that said your rants on Wicked Boston have been fantastic. Like what are you talking about on Wicked Boston about the Red Sox in 2026?
Well,
because it's approaching dumpster fire level that like has somebody like me, like it takes a lot for me to get interested in baseball in April. But the Red Sox are really working on it. They've got me paying attention. What the hell's going on?
Yeah. I mean, you could be looking at the same thing with your team as well.
I know.
By the way.
We got the worst record in baseball.
Yeah. It's a bad
Phillies,
scene
by
over
the
there
way,
too. And Alex Cora might be the manager of the Phillies in the next couple of weeks. By the way. It's bad, dude. So this weekend they fire Alex Cora, and basically his whole staff, save the pitching coach, who was the GM selection. And they just promoted a bunch of minor league guys. Their AAA manager is now the manager. The AA managers, the third base coach, yada, yada, all GM guys, all Craig Breslow's guys. This was Billy Bean's wet dream in Moneyball that he just never got to do. Just, fire the manager, just to have his own guys in there because it's all the manager's fault. The Red Sox have much deeper seated issues than Alex Cora. Not to say that this is unfair or harsh. Alex Cora oversaw a couple of last place finishes. Alex Cora puts out the lineup every day. Alex Cora has had a team that consistently every year is not ready to start the season and is the worst defensive team in baseball, basically the last decade or so. Certainly the last half decade. And so there are some things that do fall on Alex Cora. He doesn't have starting pitching rotations ready to go when the season starts. But the Red Sox have so many issues here. And you look at where they were last year. They were a playoff team for the first time in 4 years. And they were in as good a position going into this season as about anybody who made the playoffs last year.
What the hell happened?
Because they had the playoff roster. They had young players under contract. And, Pete, they had a luxury that almost nobody has. They had a surplus. They had a surplus of good, young, cost-controlled players. AKA, they had pieces to move. They had so many pieces to move last trade deadline and in this offseason, and they didn't move a goddamn one. They went into this year with a worse roster than last year. They let Alex Bregman walk because, God forbid, they sign anybody who's 30 years old or above. That would be just heinous. No other successful baseball team is doing that. The Dodgers, notably, are not signing guys that are 30 years old. Sarcasm, Pete. It happens all the time. And the Red Sox just refuse to do it. They have this model that they have that doesn't work, but it's everyone else that's the dummies. Everyone else that's winning the World Series, those are the dummies. And so they go into this year with a roster that is quite frankly not good enough to win. They had a power outage in the middle of their lineup. They needed a right-handed power hitter, even with Alex Bregman on the roster. And they subtracted Bregman. They added Wilson Contreras, who's a good player, good hitter, not going to strike fear into a bullpen, in a close game in the 7th inning when his spot's due up with a couple of guys on base, but a good hitter. And now they suck. They're 10-17. They're 11-17 now, 10-17 under Cora. They fired him after they won a game by 16 runs. And they basically punted this season. Like, they're going to throw fecal matter at the wall and see if it sticks by promoting the AAA guy. But they have basically said, this season's down the drain.
Really? You think so? I mean, it's the Red Sox. It's April. Come on.
Like, they could be. I'm not going to say they're going to finish in last. They could be an okay baseball team. There's still plenty of time for that. But they're not as good as a team as they were last year that snuck into the playoffs. They still have major changes. There's no savior coming. Like, there's no guy in AAA who's the generational prospect. That was last year. Now you've made him the focal point of your lineup, and he's 21 years old. There's no guy on the DL who's going to come back and make it all better. You know what I mean? And there's probably no one trade they can make at the trade deadline, but they don't do that anyway. So, like, there's no real, like, we'll just wait for this. You know what I mean? What they are is a very flawed roster. And
Are there hysterics right now in Boston around this, or is there so much other stuff going on?
Yeah. In fact, I there are, but I listened to your boyfriend Toucher this morning. Just be like, I'm going to talk about this on my show too. But I was like, man, I just want, like, this is the time to get like a Boston sports talk feel, right? Like, this was a major move that the Red Sox just made. The wheels are falling off the wagon. It's a move that was probably going to be made at some point, but there's so many other issues here. Like, how is Boston Sports Talk Radio covering this? And Fred Toucher in the morning on the sports station in Boston is talking about how two things that stuck out to me. Oh, they got all these journeymen. They went out and traded for Caleb Durbin, who's a journeyman. Caleb Durbin is in his 2nd year of Major League Baseball. The 2nd year, Pete.
But this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
In the Rookie of the Year last year. Yeah, and now he's a journeyman. Okay, so he has no idea. And then he's talking about how we're just going to wait around for Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer to hit 330, and that's going to take a couple years. One player in the American League hit 330 last year. One. Aaron Judge was the only one. So this is a guy who just hasn't watched baseball in 10 years and decides he needs to talk about the Red Sox firing the manager because it's the biggest story in the city right now. And so that really sucks. Like, we're not even getting good enough baseball coverage.
That's why he needs to have, honestly, someone like you on, or somebody who, it's okay if you don't, you know what I mean, know the ins and outs of it, but bring on somebody who can talk about it.
And by the way, I know the ins and outs of this, but on the Wicked Boston show today, we're going to have one of the leading voices in Major League Baseball on the show. Thank you to Chris Pfister. We're going to have Bob Nightingale on the show today from USA Today to talk about the Alex Cora firing. There are a lot of issues here with the Red Sox, man. There's a huge disconnect between the players and the front office. Like, none of the players were briefed about this. Some of them learned on social media. There's no leadership in that clubhouse, man. I mean, they're all turning to a 21-year-old to be their savior. And they're like, shooing away the media because how dare they ask about the manager being fired. It is an absolute feces show.
The curse of Mookie Betts.
It kind of is, dude. It kind of is. Like, that might be what we're in for. It was basically 100 years after they traded Babe Ruth. January of 2020 was that, and this was, or 1920 was that, and this was, I think, February of 2020. So we could be headed for that, Pete.
Before we head to a break, let's talk about some sponsors. Bumblebee Blinds. Thank you very much, Cam. Bumblebee Blinds. Look, if you're in Central Texas, do me a favor, go ahead and get a consult, right? You walk in there and you say, hey, I'm looking at some new blinds. Well, the consult is free. And here's the good news. Anything you get is 30% off. Bumblebee blinds not only will make you look good, they will help you rest good. They are nationwide, and of course, 30% off in Central Texas. I don't know about the deals in other areas of the country, but I do know wherever Bumblebee Blinds is, you're going to get top dollar, right? You're going to get top dollar stuff, but you won't have to pay top dollar, and that's what's important. BumblebeeBlinds.com. Also, Lakeway Golf Club. This is an opportunity now we have as it's raining, it's not raining. Hey, at Lake Waco Golf Club, it's always sunny and 70 degrees. Get your ass out there, play that executive 18-hole golf course, or play the par 3. And when you're done, I want you to go to the grill, get some good food. And I always say it's so much fun to bet with your opponent or who you're playing with. And the wager is something in the pro shop, right? Go ahead and bet a Lake Waco Golf Club golf shirt, right? And you pick it up in the pro shop afterwards, or a Titleist golf shirt or hat. You get the idea. They've got it all there. We want you guys to go check that out in the Central Texas area. We're going to step aside and come back. One more segment. Cam talked about a disconnect. I saw the movie Michael over the weekend. And later on in the week, we're going to talk about the Hulk Hogan documentary, because it blew my mind for a bunch of reasons, good and bad. But I'm going to stick with another 80s icon, Michael Jackson. I saw the movie. I have a review coming back after the break. There was a disconnect there too, but it wasn't all bad. The Pete Sousa Show, presented by Syvertsen. Stay tuned.
The Argyle Open is North Lake's premier indoor golf and sports lounge, offering full swing simulators, a scratch kitchen serving up over-the-top dishes, a craft bar, and wall-to-wall TVs designed for friends, family, and teams. Located at 1242 FM 407 West, Suite 400 in North Lake, between Grapevine and Denton. Stop by and take a swing or watch your favorite team on one of the big TVs. The Argyle Open, where great food, drinks, and competition meet.
Bumblebee Blinds of Waco and Temple is your one-stop shop for custom window treatment, transforming your vision into reality. Choose from a selection of shades, blinds, shutters, and curtains. Bumblebee Blinds stands behind our service and products, ensuring peace of mind with our trusted warranty. Call Bumblebee Blinds today to schedule your design consultation. Bumblebee Blinds, simplifying window treatments one covering at a time. BumblebeeBlinds.com.
Hey, it's Zach Gelb. We're talking NFL and college football. Plus, we have some of the biggest interviews in sports media. You got to check out the Zach Gelb Show right here on 365 Sports, weekdays, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 to 3 p.m. Central. And make sure you subscribe to my channel, youtube.com/@Zach Gelb Show.
Save big during the Start Something New sales event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Waco. Drive a new Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab with $13,000 off, or choose 0% financing. Get a new Laramie Crew Cab 4-wheel drive with 3.9% financing for 72 months, plus $15,000 off MSRP. Explore in a new Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, starting at $31,990. Happening now at Allen Samuels.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Hi, I'm Jo from Face Theory. You're going to want to have a specific goal for your skincare routine. What do you want to achieve? Active ingredients are really strong, and if you're using too many at once, your skin can get overwhelmed. Don't overspend on products. Choose products that have scientific research behind them. At Face Theory, if you're not happy with a product, just say so, just give us a shout and we'll give you your money back, no problem.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. Tailor the colors, fonts, and design to match your brand and seamlessly integrate with your WordPress website. Whether it's for events or appointments, Amelia makes booking simple, stylish, and perfectly aligned with your business. Enhance your booking experience today at WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
If you want a Boston sports show that's going to insult you as a fan and only cares about getting back at their old hosts or who Bill Belichick is dating, then keep tuning your radio. But if you want a sports show that's wicked good, wicked smart, wicked passionate, then you need the Wicked Boston Show with me, Cam Stewart. It is the only Boston sports talk show that is by the fans and for the fans. One voice in this city where the only BS is Boston sports. The Wicked Boston Show.
BadCreditLoans.com is a pioneering service provider that has carved a reputation in the financial industry for its dedication to helping individuals with bad credit secure loans. By making timely repayments, borrowers can gradually repair their credit history, thereby increasing their chances of securing better loan terms in the future. BadCreditLoans.com serves as a beacon of hope for those with bad credit. Simple, fast, and reliable loan application process. And its commitment to responsible borrowing makes it a trusted partner in the journey towards financial stability.
The Pete Sousa Show rolls on, and a quick reaction from this weekend. I had the opportunity. Christy and I kind of kidnapped her on Sunday and made her go Michael with me. Not that she was opposed, but she's just not a movie person. I love the movies. So first I can say is the overall experience was one of yesteryear. And I say that because you felt electricity in the movie theater. It was a Sunday afternoon. The movie came out Friday. The place was jammed. Not too crowded to where like people were in every seat, but let's just say there was a group of people, a gap, a group of people, a gap. It was kind of like that. So I didn't have anybody next to me. Christy didn't have anybody next to her, but there were people in front, behind. You get the idea. And then you get the numbers over the weekend, $217 million box office globally for Michael. In America, I think it was $92 million. Both broke records for opening weekends for biopics. And I think it shows that critics and fans want different things. It's similar to the way that we look at elections almost, right? We're like, okay, well, this candidate sucks. We think he sucks. We're going to tell you how bad it sucks, right? This candidate. And then all of a sudden we turn around and the people vote and that person gets elected. Critics, I think sometimes are out of their minds and super negative. And I think they were around this movie. Now let's get this straight. This is not 100% accurate. And if you're looking for a 100% accurate portrayal of Michael Jackson, don't go to this movie looking for that. It's more bubblegum than it is breaking news. And I apologize to all the people that wanted to see a takedown of Michael Jackson. You knew you weren't going to see that because of how heavily involved his family was. It was a good time. And here's what I'll say about my viewing experience of the movie, okay? It was important that I saw this movie in IMAX. If I can leave you with one thing, if you're going to see this movie, I would see it in the theater for sure, and I would see it on IMAX. The kid who plays Michael Jackson is his nephew, right? And I thought he did a phenomenal job. And I think way too often when we get these biopics and these looks at reality, right? These looks at reality, I'm doing the air quotes, you can go to Winning Time. Like the dude who played Magic Johnson was unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I thought the same thing of Michael Jackson's nephew who played him. And I think we really gloss over that sometimes. Like, oh, well, okay, he was great, but this sucked. The performances that were given in this movie were elite. And it wasn't like, I remember I saw the Elton John biopic and it really sucked. And one of the reasons it sucked is because it would be like Elton John walking into rehab and then all of a sudden he would spring into this like routine, like almost like a Broadway show. It's not what I'm looking for. Like need a little bit of a schedule here. Like when we're going to see a Michael Jackson performance, it's at a Michael Jackson concert, and it's very close. I think you would probably have to talk to people around the family and around Michael Jackson to get a better breakdown of this. But I would probably say that is the most accurate portions. Those are the most accurate portions of the film, are his performances that they highlight. The Motown show, they do the Victory Tour finale. The Motown was Motown at 25, the first time we ever saw the moonwalk. And then the last one was Michael Jackson, I think, in London in 1988. And the movie ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. And there's all kinds of scuttlebutt. My favorite was the New York Post revealed an article where the director, Antoine Fuqua, was having such an issue with Michael Jackson's family during the shooting of the film that they called him Vantoine Fuqua, because he directed like the last third of the movie from a van because he couldn't handle everybody being on set. The guy Coleman Domingo, Joe Jackson, amazing, or Joseph, and Nia Long is awesome. As far as she plays his mom, Catherine, it's a fun movie. It's not, I don't know what people are looking for. When we go to the movies, it's a fun experience, dude. It's not, I'm not sitting down to watch Dateline. I'm not watching 2020. What the disconnect between going to the movies and real life and people like wanting blood, that this wasn't exactly what we thought. It's not a portrayal, an accurate portrayal. Michael Jackson, blow it out your ass. It's a movie. It's good times. It's popcorn, right? I mean, come on, man. It's not Spotlight. Like, although it could be, and I guess that's some people's problem, right? But I thought it was outstanding, and if anything, right? If anything, in the court of public opinion, we have shit on Michael Jackson for the past 10 years, okay, with all these sexual assault allegations, none of which have been proven, to my knowledge, and like proven in a court of law, right? I think I'm out on a ledge there, but I looked this up before the show. There's nothing that's legally like come down, right? Like that deemed Michael Jackson to be a felon. And so this was a positive look at some of the good things about this young guy. And if there's anything I can come away with as somebody who has covered stars, and, I call games now, and sometimes there's a star playing. I've worked in sports where there've been stars around. And the one thing I got from the Michael Jackson biopic is like, he may have been like a weird kind of pain in the ass, like being an eccentric, but boy, what a nice guy. Like, I think he would have been like a real delightful guy to work with before he got super famous, where I think it got really bizarre. But the performances are top flight. It's clear Janet wanted nothing to do with it because she's not in it at all, like not even a character of her. And she respectfully declined. But then I heard like the more and more she saw of it, she really started to freak out because of how inaccurate some of the portrayals are. And if you're looking for Michael Jackson's real life story, don't look to this documentary, this biopic, right? It's not a documentary, to bring closure or clarity for you on that. But if you're looking for a good time for one of the biggest stars in our lifetime, my lifetime for sure, and a celebration of his work and some of the good vibes, this movie's for you. If you're looking for to go under the hood on this dude and to find all the gritty, grimy, Wade ropes and stuff, there's documentaries and articles out there for you. And there's two sides to all this stuff. And obviously the guy's accused of is abhorrent and unspeakable, some of it. But this movie didn't touch any of that. And for that, it worked. Because of that, it worked. Because you've got box office records now, right? Box office records. So the guy whose article I read about how bad Michael was, money talks, bullshit walks, dude. And that's all I'll say. Like, as an artist, you can say, oh, this was no good, or blah, blah, blah. Blow it out your ass, dude. All right? The guy from the New York Post. This is a record-setting movie, money-wise. Like, Sorry, that wins. That speaks great volumes. Okay. And the people want something different than critics. Once again, they want something different than the people who tell us what we're supposed to like and what we're not supposed to like. And that's why we go and see these movies ourselves. Okay. And again, from a moral standpoint, there's more to this story than meets the eye. But it was a great experience. I'm not nowhere near a great movie, but it was 2 hours of delight. I had a lot of fun. Cam, what about Kalshi? You think Kalshi has anything to say about this movie? Do you want to talk about Kalshi?
Probably.
I think I'd like to.
They probably have something to say.
Here we go. Okay. Whoa. Wow. Bum, bum, ba-na-na-da. That's a bummer. I really like Chris Sims. Scotty B.
Who's going to replace him? Maybe Kalshi's got some odds for that.
Maybe they do. There it is. Kalshi.com, promo code Sousa. There it is. I know some of you guys sent me messages. You made some money over the weekend thanks to the $20 you get for free when you sign up. Kalshi.com, promo code Sousa will give you $20 in your Kalshi account that you hold on. I did it. I nailed it. I put the farm on David Bailey to get taken second. It happened. My account is juiced right now. I don't know what I'm going to do next because there's so many options when you go to Kalshi.com. So do me that favor. Go to Kalshi.com, promo code Sousa. Check it out. You're in for a good time. Just like if you went to see the Michael Jackson. Look at this. It's why everyone needs the Wicked Boston show.
That's a comment. Now that's a comment right there.
And look, here it is.
Knower.
And this is while I was doing my Michael Jackson, the comments were flowing in.
1:30 p.m. Eastern today.
Bob Nightingale, that's a huge get, Cam.
That's big. That's big. Huge assist.
You're gonna leave your hat on for that one?
Chris Visser. Yeah, I think so. You know what? I'm gonna be true to
for it.
myself.
Be you. Exactly. To thine own self be true, homie. One more thing, Argyle Open. Thank you guys so much for hosting us last Thursday. It was myself, it was Matt Mosley, and we got to experience it firsthand. It's in North the DFW, and it's a spot you got to check out. Golf simulators, scratch kitchen, wall-to-wall TVs. Here's something about this place I'm going to tell you that I freaking love, okay? We were watching the draft, okay? It was a draft party. So they have these huge televisions, right? And they were all like 2 of the 3 televisions were on the draft. And, you know, it was obviously the draft had it was the highlight of the night. But there were NBA playoff games on that were really close, right? So after the Cowboys made their pick, the folks at Argyle switched over real quick. They put the Hawks-Knicks game in the center TV on the wall, and then they put the draft on the 2 outlying TVs on the wall. And I looked up and I said, hey, why did that change? And I said, oh, look, it's like a 5-point game coming down the stretch. Like, they get it, dude. They get it. They get the food, they get the vibe, they get the sports. Go out to Argyle Open. It is in Northlake. We want you to check it out. You're going to have a blast. And you can go with the kids. It is a kid-friendly place that sells cocktails. I don't drink, but I know you do. All right, have a good time. All right, the Chris Sims thing pisses me off, by the way. I have a thing about Chris Sims. One, my girlfriend after college was Chris Sims' babysitter. She's I guess 10 years after college. Wendy, great soccer player at the University of Richmond from North Jersey. And Wendy always had the story where she gave the Sims kids too much ice cream, and Phil came home not in the best mood, and he saw all the ice cream that Wendy had given them, and she took it out and put it back in the ice cream carton. It was too much, right? Come on, Wendy, way too much ice cream. I'll tell you, I think Chris Sims is phenomenal. I listen to him a lot on Florio, Pro Football Talk Morning, and he is such a likable guy, and he's so honest, and I do think he's definitely been hit in the head too many times, and he's kind of honest about that, and the all shucks demeanor about him is just, he is awesome, and I think he's a great analyst, and that's a hell of a free agent right there. I wonder, Cam says, okay, who's going to replace Chris Sims? I also think, where's Chris Sims going to go? Like Chris Sims could be a college football analyst for Fox.
Ourlads.
Ourlads. I mean, that's easy money, But then you've got like, where will Chris Sims end up? It's an interesting NFL Network. I feel like NFL Network is awesome. And, as a broadcaster, I'd take a job at the NFL Network tomorrow as a host. But it's also like, it's interesting. I didn't watch the NFL Network draft coverage. I watched ESPN and I watched all the other stuff. McShay and Mensch were amazing. John Gruden with Barstool was kind of fun. I was a little annoyed when they had you got John Gruden there on a dais and he's doing fantastic. And then you kind of toss it to like the Casey Smith woman and she's telling me about why a guy, I'm like, let's go back to John Gruden.
She's a big Waco hater, by the way.
She is?
Huge Baylor Waco hater.
Why? What's her story on
She's
that?
An Aggie.
She is
an
okay.
Aggie, and she's just never gotten over some things. My first thought was ESPN for Chris Sims, but I don't know that ESPN is making that kind of investment anymore. You know what I mean? To bring in like a legit, like top tier NFL analyst. You know what I mean? And look, I just don't know if they're bringing someone in from the outside like that anymore.
Being on that ESPN roster, right? Here's how they do it. They have their like Stephen A. Smiths, right? They have their like what franchise guys, right? And then they have like a little below that, and then they have like a huge gap, and then there's like people like me. Like that's how they have the roster. Like, so is Chris Sims like willing to take whatever that middle of the pack would get, right? Or like, because he's not going to. Clearly, he never has gotten that like Stephen A. Smith type money, but like that top football analyst money's not there for him. I think he's smart enough to take a whatever. I mean, because that Football Night in America, he had to be getting paid a lot. So he'll have to take some kind of pay cut, I would imagine.
I wouldn't mind seeing him do color commentary.
No, me neither. That's what I said. I think he'd be great.
I've he's had some
I'm sure
wild
and I know he's done it
in
before.
the past, but I wouldn't mind just having him. I know you can't schedule it out like this every week, but a college football game where there's two elite quarterbacks, I'd love having Chris Sims breaking it down during the game. And I don't know. Yeah, obviously that's tough to do, but I wouldn't mind seeing him. He's great at breaking down game film and kind of put it into layman's terms for folks like me. So I wouldn't mind seeing him do something like that. Place?
If you could think off the top of your head.
RG3
making a move.
It could be. Like,
it's not a bad call.
So NBC just hired Tomlin, but it's not like a like for like. Tomlin's for Dungy.
Yeah. Which, by the way, let me say something. I thought about this, and it's kind of a lightning rod. What bullshit that there's so few black coaches. Like, these guys basically come from the same coaching tree. Like, I mean, Steelers, Dungy was a defensive back with the Steelers, and then, he's with Herm Edwards, and then, with the Bucs. And it's just kind of like, what the hell, man? Like, we need more minorities coaching, but whatever. So go ahead. So
Dave Aranda,
yeah.
So I was just going to say, like, it's not, like Sims's role is kind of interesting, right?
By the way, I don't think Dave Aranda will be good on Football Night in America.
No, probably not. I'd love to get him.
Coach.
I'd love to get him on the Manning cast. I'd love it. I'd love
that. Would be amazing, dude.
Because he can break down film.
Yeah, he will be good
about how smart he is, and like, I just kind of want to see it, man. I kind of.
That's a great forum for him, dude.
That would be great.
Like if the Manning cast, if there was a little more synergy there time wise, like if the Manning cast was like 2 years in because that was the first year, like it was Baylor. It was this. I think actually their first year was the second season after Baylor's big Sugar Bowl win.
Okay,
I think so. Oh no, wait, no. That had already been going on. So they could have had Dave on. Like he could have been a possible guest because his team was top 10 going into the next season.
I wish, like, if you could have just taken Simmons or Russillo and made them what they are for basketball, for football, and like had a Simmons and Dave Aranda thing, that would be, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know who that is for football. I don't know. I think Simmons is kind of one of one, but like to have that person who is enough of a sicko, who knows everything you're talking about, also being funny about it, could be could be unreal. I'd love to see Dave Aranda in some media space. You're right. He never will. He never will. Like, that's kind of the antithesis of what he is right now. But I think it would be funny because he would be, he knows the stuff, man.
By the way, is this thing on? The Will Arnett movie, I saw that recently, and Peyton Manning is in it, and he's like not bad, and he doesn't play Peyton Manning.
Funny, dude.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Peyton Manning's a better personality than Brady.
Oh,
just not as good a quarterback.
No, I was a little.
Just good a leader.
If there's one thing, one nitpicky thing about Ourlads, he kind of threw Brady in there, I was like, well, hold on. He was like, he kind of just like, oh yeah, that's what happens with these guys that get put in good organizations. I was like, well, Tom Brady, I think he had a little more to do with that than
probably did. Yeah, when you see the other quarterbacks under Belichick.
Anything else? Any new stuff? I mean, I know we're going to in a couple minutes, Cam, or a minute.
Yep.
But anything new on Rossini Vrabel?
No.
Okay.
No, nothing new there. Zach Gelb, our friend, our partner, saying it would be insane if Mike Vrabel wasn't the coach of the Patriots next year. And I happen to agree with him. Whether you think that's the right move or not, I agree with what Zach is saying. It would not line up with not only football coaching jobs, but it would not line up with the real world.
Well, yes, and also too, I think part of the scuttlebutt coming out of Patriots camp, and Albert Breer, you mentioned it on Friday, did a really good job reporting this, that in the immediate aftermath of this whole situation coming out, he wasn't the same guy around the facility. It's kind of like, hey, no kidding. Like, that is a major league haymaker. Like, people need time. I mean, oh my God. Yeah. So I get that. And I don't think we're having this conversation in 2 or 3 months, right? Like, I think he'll be back with his gusto. He needs to figure out what's going on. Time takes time. There's actually no better time for this to come out, as weird as it is, now, where he can kind of thaw out a little bit and ramp up for training camp. I know did anything, by the way, like Patriots specific crop up on the last day of the draft where Vrabel not being there was any kind of story? No.
Yeah, nothing really. No controversial pick, no big reach or anything like that. No.
Okay.
In fact, they traded a couple of those picks. Yeah.
All right, we'll be back tomorrow. We're not trading Cam. That's for goddamn sure. Nor Chris Visser. Thank you to Slovacics. Thank you to everybody watching the comments today. So appreciate it. So much fun. And we will be back tomorrow, the Pete Sousa Show, live at 10 a.m. Central. We will see you tomorrow.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. NALGENE.com.
Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns. Book your first appointment today.
Sports.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.